Once you hit 40, your body's intestinal activity or ability to absorb and digest food starts to drop dramatically year by year by year. So when you're in your 60s, if I gave you 20 grams of protein, you'd be lucky to digest 4 or 5 grams, the way it comes from food. So now you're getting a better idea why not only food choices are important, but why you need to supplement. So one of the key things that has been designed into ZEN Bodi Fit program is a unique form of protein, that branch chain amino acids that you do not even have to digest. It go right through your intestinal wall, whether you're 30, 60, 80, or 90. That's the initial way to start building more muscle. Okay? So let's take a look at the key hormones. I'm going to give everybody a little mnemonic here. And at the end of this, I'm going to give everyone in the room a little test and see if you can remember. So leptin, okay? Anybody heard of leptin? Some of you people read a little bit. Well, before you leave today, you'll be hormonal experts. And frankly, I will tell you from this little lecture, you'll know more than your doctor will about why you gain weight. And what's important about that is when you talk to your friends about this program, you need to understand why it works, because if they hear you explaining that you understand it, it's an easy job to get them to start to take the products and really see the difference. So leptin lets you know when you're full. Everybody say that? Leptin lets you know when you're full. Okay? You're going to remember that. Here's what happens. From the fat cells, every fat cell in our body produces, as I said, it's a little micropharmacy. It produces a protein called leptin. It's into our bloodstream and actually goes through the tiny blood vessels into the brain and shuts the brain's appetite center off. If your leptin levels are high, you do not want to eat. Okay? So this is the first secret. We have to learn how to keep those leptin levels high and not be interfered with. So let me give you an example. If you're in your 20s, 30s, or maybe early 40s, you're going to eat a hamburger, okay? That hamburger is going to send a message to your fat cells that, gee, you're hungry. You're not hungry anymore. You've eaten that protein and carbohydrates. It will normally go to your brain and turn off the appetite center. If you've gained weight and you have a lot of body fat cells, here's what happens. That hamburger you eat, you digest the carbohydrates, the proteins, and the fats. Okay? The fat cell, because it's now this big bulbous thing, has started to produce a compound called CRP, or C-reactive protein. And what the reactive protein does is wrap itself around the leptin molecule or coats it. It tries to get into the brain, but it can't. And so your appetite is not turned off. So this is why when you're sitting at a restaurant or a dining room table at home, and you ate your whole dinner, and gee, you feel like you're still hungry, and maybe I'll have dessert, it's because that little leptin molecule hasn't gotten to your brain to give you the message you really should stop. So that happens as those fat cells get bigger, we gain more, we have that inappropriate message. Okay, leptin and leptin resistance. So basically, as that leptin molecule, which lets you know when you're full, becomes unaffected, and when it gets wrapped with that inflammatory protein CRP, that's what we call leptin resistance. It's resisting its effect. Okay, so our bodies have the perfect system to keep our body composition and the fat and health range and the fat in our healthy range optimally by using leptin. You know, I have in our medical practices, especially anti-aging practices, I have injections I can give people and raise their leptin levels to the ceiling. Problem is, in a day or two, they're making so much of that bad CRP, even what I inject into them gets coated, so it doesn't work after a day or two. So the real secret is what we're going to show you. If you have too much of the CRP, that's the wrapping protein, it inhibits leptin's job. Okay? And guess what? The CRP sticks to the leptin molecule, makes it impossible for it to get to the brain and do its job. And ZEN Bodi Shake helps to restore the balance because there's compounds in there that have been published and shown on a national basis to actually help your leptin molecule work better and unwrap some of that bad stuff. Okay. The second secret is adiponectin. So out of the fat cell when it's young, these nice, thin, muscular people, their fat cells are producing a lot of leptin, a lot of adiponectin, okay? And what does adiponectin do? It aids leptin, okay? It helps leptin do its job. And what else are those young fat cells in the nice thin young people doing? They're not making any of this CRP or the bad protein. So leptin has help, and other important fat signals that the ZEN Bodi system supports is adiponectin. So when we have an abundance of this protein, abundance of leptin, our bodies start to lose body fat. Our appetite gets turned off, and we're starting to restore the balance of these youthful hormones that we had years ago. Okay? Our waist is smaller, our heart is healthier, our cholesterol levels go down. We start to build more muscle mass and we have more energy, so it's easier to stick to our exercise routines. Okay? So there's one more little thing. This is a fancy little compound also produced by the fat cells, which we don't want. So now we have two good ones, leptin, adiponectin, and two bad ones. Each one of those fat cells are going to produce as you gain weight and they get too big. Okay? Glycerol-3-phosphodehydrogenase. I like to look at, God, please decrease my heaviness. And if you remember these little things, it'll help you remember the names of these things. So if you want to decrease my heaviness, okay, here you go. God, please decrease my heaviness. Glycerol-3-phosphodehydrogenase. Forget about. Understand what it does. It helps keep you fit. And how does this work? So leptin has help with G3-PDH in that what this does is it actually helps. It's a major enzyme in helping converting the blood sugar in your stored cells to stay low. So anything that raises your blood sugar makes your fat cells bigger. Okay? Hate to say this. Cake after dinner, ice cream. All of these things will make you fat. The Italians, I grew up in a Sicilian family, we had pasta every night. Every night it was a side dish. It wasn't farfalle or spaghetti, it was rigatoni. And then we had the tomato sauce with sugar and wine. And I didn't understand why everybody in my family was fat. I understand. Okay, so now what we want. ZEN Bodi system helps to inhibit this enzyme, and there's a key compound in the ZEN Bodi system that helps reduce the impact of blood sugar, which makes starch, which makes fat cells. Okay? And then in published studies, this is really shown to have a major, major impact by reducing fat production by almost 80%. Okay? So if you are a diabetic, what does the doctor give you? He gives you insulin. He gives you other medications that help drop your body fat. Well, you don't need prescription medications if you understand the science behind the system. Okay, let's look at another one. So leptin has help also. The other important signals to keep two things going, that is to keep your appetite suppressed and to keep you in a good mood, okay, are norepinephrine. Now this is a neurohormone, and I want to make a comment. Your guts and your brain are directly connected. And I don't know how many people know that. But if your intestines aren't working, you're depressed. The neurotransmitters that keep your brain working optimally, many of them are produced in your intestines. And there's a direct communication system between your intestines and your brain. And your mood, whether you're happy, sad, or whatever, is directly related to how well your intestines are working. Okay, so norepinephrine naturally increases thermogenesis also. That means the higher your norepinephrine levels are, the more efficiently you burn fat. So if you're a happy person, usually you burn more fat, okay? And the only time fat people are happy is when they're eating. And then when they stop eating, they get sad, okay? So it's been shown that a nutrient in ZEN Bodi shape affects metabolism by supporting optimal levels of norepinephrine. And we'll get into this in a minute. So I don't want to overwhelm you with all these fancy hormonal names, but I want you to understand the connection between your intestines or your gut and your brain. It's a major, major component to why people gain weight as well. Okay. There's a special compound also in the ZEN Bodi system called L-tyrosine. Now, L-tyrosine is an essential metabolite for your thyroid. So anybody here who's 35 or 40, their thyroid levels now are starting to take a nosedive. And when your thyroid levels go down, you don't burn body fat, you don't have the energy you used to have, okay, and you don't feel quite as happy too. So one of the key things is to help keep your production of thyroid hormone, and by the way, thyroid's at least three hormones. T3, the active hormone, T4, the inactive hormone, and there's actually reverse T3, there's TSH, there's all these combinations of thyroid hormones. And why I mention this is unless your body, each one of the 100 trillion cells in your body has the certain right minerals, zinc, selenium, you're not going to make your thyroid hormones. Okay? Now, one of the benefits of AM/PM Essentials is it supplies the other ingredients that help virtually everything in the ZEN system work even better. And we're going to talk about that in a bit. So L-tyrosine has been shown to be converted into norepinephrine as well, which is why you see people running around, they have a lot of energy, these young people, because they not only have thyroid hormone for energy, but that thyroid hormone is making noradrenaline, which is one of their brain transmitters that makes them happy. Okay, let's look at just a couple other things. Food and exercise. Healthy fat loss and body reshaping depends on the types of food you eat. And I get this all the time. I have patients come into my office and say, "Doctor, I took your hormones. I'm not cheating on my diet. I'm not eating carbohydrates. I'm not having my dinner after 8 o'clock at night. And I never can lose weight." So I shake my head and say, "Give me your finger. Put your finger out." I have a little test. I just hit their finger, get 1 drop of blood, and I look at their fructosamine levels. When I look at that and I see it's 200, I know they've been lying to me because that tells me their average blood sugar over the last month. So when I show them that, they start to admit, well, maybe I did have my ice cream before I go to bed, and maybe I have cheated a little bit. So there are ways of knowing who's cheating and who's not. But the key thing here is the following. There's an old saying, you need to have breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, and dinner like a pauper. Anybody hear that before? Well, you know what? That's old wives' tale type stuff. It's one of the most valuable pieces of information. So breakfast should be your highest protein meal. Should be a high protein meal, but it should be your highest carbohydrate meal because you're going to burn those off during the day. Lunch, you should add a little bit more protein, which is why the ZEN Pro shake is something you want to take during lunchtime. Okay? And dinner, you should have the highest amount of protein and the least amount of carbohydrates. So if you look at this, you start in the morning with protein, lunch is higher, dinner is higher. But you look at your carbs in the morning, they're the highest, lunch is lower, and dinner is the lowest. If you follow that little inverted cross, guaranteed to be successful. Okay? So the other thing you need is fiber. Well, why is fiber important? Because fiber will help absorb a lot of the toxins that are used to digest food. Your gallbladder, your stomach makes all these, if you will, very caustic compounds that unless there's enough fiber, the fiber can't absorb those and move those out of your body, and guess what happens? More inflammation. Okay, you must have the correct amount and type of bacteria in your gut. Okay, so this is another key thing. Remember I said as you age, your intestines age, probably one of the most rapid organs in your body. So unless you're getting different types of lactobacillus, and really the ZEN Bodi system has products that help replace that, the AM/PM product has also bacteria that help you replace that as well. So again, looking at the synergy, the design, and how these products work together, you're going to see more and more why the science of Jeunesse is not about creating a product, but understanding the aging process at the cellular level and making sure all the products not only don't conflict, but actually work together. Okay? Exercise. Okay, exercise. This is something everybody hates to hear and everybody has a guilt feeling about. Okay? Everybody here, I spoke to people last night and they say, I'm too busy. I can't exercise. Well, here's the thing. Simply, the studies in the National Heart Society, the studies in the New England Journal of Medicine show that if you just walk 20 minutes, just walk, put the TV on your treadmill, walk for 20 minutes 3 times a week, you'll lose body fat, you'll lose weight.